Imagine you're running a race. The track is empty, no spectators, no competitors, just you. You start strong, but there's no urgency, no one to push you. Now imagine that same race, but this time there's a crowd cheering, and competitors are beside you, stride for stride, like in a marathon. You push harder, you run faster, you perform at your best. This isn't just motivation, it's science. This phenomenon of a presence of an audience enhancing performance was well tested with the effects of COVID-19 pandemic. Studies comparing biathlon performances with and without crowds during the COVID-19 pandemic showed that men ran faster with an audience. For MMA fights during the pandemic, the fighters who won their bouts with no audience present consistently performed worse than their bouts with an audience. And NBA games showed that favored teams saw increased performance with larger audiences, while underdog teams performed better in the presence of larger crowds, suggesting a positive correlation between performance and audience size for home games. This correlation is more commonly known as social facilitation, a term that has been coined since the late 1800s. Social facilitation is the idea that we perform better on simple or well-practiced tasks when we're around others. The presence of people heightens our arousal, making us more focused, more efficient, and more engaged. In 1898, psychologist Norman Triplett, this guy right here, conducted one of the first experiments on this phenomenon. He was interested in why cyclists seemed to ride faster when racing against others compared to when they rode alone. He hypothesized that the presence of others enhances performance due to increased competition and arousal. To test this theory, he asked children to reel in fishing lines as fast as they could, first alone and then in pairs. The result? They worked significantly faster when someone else was present. His findings laid the foundation for the social facilitation theory that we know today. Fast forward today. A study published in the journal Social Cognitive and Affective Neuroscience by Chib, Adachi, and Odotti used brain imaging to show that social facilitation isn't just psychological, it's neurological. The researchers designed an incentive-based task to test how social facilitation influences brain's activity. They had participants that were recruited and asked to perform a task in two different conditions, alone and while being observed by peers. They were given a simple task that involved making decisions to earn monetary rewards. This allowed the researchers to measure motivation and cognitive engagement objectively. While the participants performed the task, their brain activity was monitored using functional magnetic resonance imaging or fMRI to observe the real-time neural responses. What the researchers found was that when people perform tasks in presence of others, two key brain areas light up: the ventral striatum, which is linked to motivation and rewards, and the medial prefrontal cortex, which processes social evaluation. Simply put, having people around makes our brains work harder and smarter. To understand these results, let's break down the brain regions at play a little more. The ventral striatum, often called the brain's reward center, is responsible for processing motivation and pleasure. When it's activated, we feel driven to succeed. Then, there's the medial prefrontal cortex, or the MPFC, a region linked to social cognition and self-reflection. This part of the brain helps us process social feedback, making us more conscious of our performance when we know others are watching. The hippocampus, crucial for learning and memory, plays a supporting role by reinforcing the connections between social interactions and improved cognitive performance. When we work in stimulating environments, we're more likely to encode and retain information. The amygdala, often associated with emotions, also contributes by regulating stress levels. In an office setting, mild social pressure can trigger a small release of stress hormones, which keeps us alert and engaged, but not overwhelming. Finally, the cerebellum, which coordinates movement and balance, helps regulate fine motor control and cognitive efficiency, ensuring that our actions responses are sharp while we're under observation. Think of our brain like a high-performance car. The ventral striatum is the engine, giving us the drive to succeed. The medial prefrontal cortex is the dashboard, analyzing the data and making real-time decisions. The hippocampus is the GPS, helping us remember important information. The amygdala acts like the traction control, keeping our emotions in check so that we don't spin out. And the cerebellum, that's the steering system, making sure everything runs smoothly and efficiently. When you add an audience, just like adding some really good fuel to the system, it runs at its peak. Now think about how this could apply to a work setting. When you're surrounded by colleagues in an office, your brain is naturally more engaged. The conversations, the slight competitive edge, and even the simple presence of others acts as that fuel system for your car, keeping your mental engine running at full speed. So what does this mean for work? If you're working from home, you might think you're just as productive, but the science says otherwise. Without the subtle pressure of colleagues, without the natural energy of an office, you're likely working slower, losing focus, and missing out on the cognitive boost that social presence provides, determined by the social facilitation theory. Consider this. According to Wall Street Journal, before the pandemic, only about 6% of workers in metropolitan areas worked from home. By 2021, this number had surged to 19%. And even as workplaces reopened, the shift remained. By early 2023, 35% of workers with remote-capable jobs were still working from home full-time, compared to just 7% before COVID-19. While hybrid work is growing, the reality is clear. Many workers remain in isolation, potentially missing out on the cognitive and productivity benefits of working alongside others. In the office, social facilitation kicks in. Your brain is wired to respond to the presence of others. That extra drive makes you tackle tasks more quickly, think more creatively, and stay more engaged. It's not about micromanagement. It's about maximizing human potential. In fact, research has shown that employees in office environments tend to be more productive. A study from Houghton Mifflin Harcourt found that open office setups encourage collaboration, leading to this increased idea exchange. And according to the Academy of Management Perspectives, face-to-face interactions improve decision making and problem solving. Just like in a race, we perform our best when we have others around us. The science is clear. Social facilitation makes us better. So if you want to do your best work, it's time to lace up and step into the office. The office, where productivity thrives.